Hey guys, this is part 3 of my Nova RPG, Nova Engine, game engine showcase. Um, and today I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, some more features. I'll showcase a little bit about the particle system, um, because the particle system is pretty cool. I'm not using any like external particle systems or anything like that. Um, but it is still a nice feature to have. Particle systems are a kind of fundamental VFX pipeline. And because I wanted this engine to be like easy to use, sort of for like the RPG Maker crowd or things like that, um, it is a fairly straightforward particle system. It's not the most complicated to use. And I will open it up and showcase it right now. So let's do that. So you may have noticed in the last a few couple of videos that I put out, um, there's these buttons up here on the toolbar, and that's basically how you access all of the features inside of the engine. And I'll run through a couple of them now because a lot of it is inspired by like RPG Maker and just making sure things are easy to use inside of the engine. So the first one is the asset browser, which I showcased a little bit about before. But if you open it up, it's going to open it up right here in a brand new tab. And yeah, that's your asset browser. So you can see like all of the assets. You can see animations here with a nice little like animated preview if you hover over it. This is the actual PNG for the tile set that I'm using. This was just a free tile set that I got off of itch.io. It's not. This doesn't come with the engine. It's not my artwork. This is just something I'm using for testing. Um, Same thing for this. Like the character, you may have noticed is a LPC. The what is that? Liberated Pixel Creator or something like that. Um, Anyways, it's the free like open source pixel art asset creator. So that's all that is. But yeah, these tile sets, assets, and everything that I've got are all like free stuff that you can get off of itch.io. So yeah, that's your asset browser here. You can see like your generated um, gameplay action. So that's actually old because gameplay actions. I don't think. Yeah, there is no editor for that. Oh, that's a CS file. Why is that? Okay. I don't remember what that was. That's an old thing. But I also have your scenes. I think I need to change the icon for that because that actually doesn't make sense as the scene icon. That makes more sense as the cinematic icon. So I need to change that. Anyways, I'm thinking out loud here as I browse through the asset browser. But yeah, so your asset browser, everything opens up in a new tab. So if you click one of these buttons, it's going to open up in a new tab. I'm going to close that out. This is your database right here. So your database functions as uh, kind of like your data assets in Unreal Engine. So you create your data here. Um, this is backed by an actual database, by the way. There's LightDB on the back end. So there's an actual database file that ships with your all of your projects. So when you create a new project, you get a new database, and then you can start adding stuff to it. And you have easy access to it in the C# scripting API, which again, like everything, should be accessible from the scripting API. But anyways, now I guess I got rid of them. I had some like demo entries. Maybe that was a different project though. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to quickly just kind of create a new item here. I'm going to just say new item definition. Oh, okay. So the definitions are defaulted. I need to change that. But yeah, so we can change the new item definition. I'm going to just call this like potion or something. I don't know why that's not saving. There we go. Okay. I guess that needs to be fixed. But anyways, so these have their own like universal IDs. So everything is like backed by the IDing system. So they have individual IDs, so that way they are individual entities, and then you can mark it as like a consumable. You can give it a description like this is a potion. You can choose like how many items you want in a stack. You can give it a price here if you want, and then an icon path, which for now is just a text box that it will eventually be like a path chooser or a asset path, like an asset picker. But for now, it's just a text box. But yeah, so you define definitions. These are defined in C sharp, the table definitions. So you define the rows in C sharp and how they, or the columns and everything, how the actual data is stored. And then you can uh, add your own items to it. And it's pretty simple. Um, so you get, let's say, let me add a new character here. And so you get like your character definitions, you get attack, defense, HP, MP, speed, biography, display name, portrait and sprite paths. These are kind of these are sort of unneeded, but they're there just in case you want them. But yeah, these are like the default, um, what you call it, the default tables that come with your database. And of course, you can override them or delete them if that's what you want. I believe they come in every project. So if I go to new test and I go to, nope, that's not it. Content, database. So there's your actual DB file, but where are the definitions? You know what? I think the definitions are built into the engine. And if that's the case, I need to change that. Because I think that's what I did at first. Unless I... Did I put them here in database types? Let me open this up real quick. Just once. New window. Character. Runtime instance characters data. Items data. Okay. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm sorry. Um, so yeah, that is actually the generated file from the database, but it is not. Yeah, I think the types are built into the engine, so I do need to change that. They should be project based, so I'll have to change that at some point. But anyways, so the character, item, and skill, these are our actual like database definitions. This game variables is something completely different, but I thought it should fit in the database tab, and it still is backed by the database, but the game variables works differently than the other two. This is not something you can create. This is not a schema that you can like copy or anything. But what you can do with it is this kind of functions like global variables. So you define like the type of variable that it is. You can have it global or local. Local just means, is it local to the scene, um, or is it global? Global is kind of generally what you want to use this system for, because I don't have a way to like specify like what scene a local variable belongs to at the moment. So it just kind of exists somewhere. But yeah, global is kind of the idea, the whole point of what this system is for. So you can have it as a few specific types. You can have it as a Boolean, which is just a true or false value, an integer, which is a numeric value, a floating point number, or a string. So a string is like just a text value. Floating point is like a decimal, so it's like 1.25 or whatever. Um, Integer is literally just an integer with no decimal behind it, so it's just like 1, 2, 3, any kind of whole number. And then Boolean, like I said, is a true or false value, so it's true or false. Um, but yeah, so these kind of like would be what you use to control like your game state. Is sort of the idea behind them. So like, if a variable is checked, then you can the character progresses or whatever. So this is just one way to control game state if you want to use it. It's there, but it's certainly not the only way to do that. You can also set up like game manager actors and things like that. You can define actor lifetimes to persist for like throughout the entire game. So if you wanted to just create an empty actor and then have create a component in C sharp that manages your game, that's certainly another way to do that. The game variables was just a handy, convenient way to have like global variable access. But it's certainly not the only way. It's also easy to access in C sharp. Um, it has its own like helper methods and stuff for pulling the variables from the database. Anyways, I talked a long time ago about going into particle systems. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I open up the particle system tab by clicking this button here, and then you get this nice little tree. This is a graph view, and you can kind of expand your particle system. This is a 3D viewport right here up in the top left corner, so you can actually like kind of orbit the particle system and zoom in and out. You can also disable the grid, or you used to be able to. I guess I deleted that control. I don't know what happened to that. It's interesting. Um, okay, but this is like your debug shape control right here. And then also you can change the lighting in the scene if you want. If it's not lit well enough, you can change the background color. Your emitter, it just automatically starts. There's no like in and out node on this node tree. All this is like what goes where. So whatever your first emitter is on the node tree is going to be like the basis for your particle system. And then you can connect other particle systems. You can create a new emitter here, and you can just like have it on birth. This new particle system spawns, and let's just change the shape here to, let's change the color actually. So that way it's not the exact same color as the old one. Oh, and I need to refresh because when you add a new emitter, this is a cached view, so it's only caching the first emitter. So when you add a new emitter to it, I actually have to refresh so that way they both populate. There we go. So now you can see I have this second emitter here, and they're both spawning in. So whenever this emitter births a particle, it's also going to birth a particle from this emitter. So I'm going to delete this though because that's not really what I want. So I'm going to switch back to just a singular emitter. And we can play with some things here. So let's start with like width over lifetime. So you can see like there's some basic particle system parameters here. If you've ever played with a particle system before, you should recognize a lot of this. Width over lifetime, let's add a point here and let's make it wide. Let's make them wide boys. Now, gonna actually delete that. You can right click to delete a point on that. I'm gonna make it size over lifetime. There we go. That is better. Now you can also have like rotational controls, rendering. So like you can change your particle shape here. Like if we want it to be rings, we can make it rings, or sparks, which is just kind of like it's a 45-degree rotated square. Smoke is kind of like a fuzzy texture. Star is kind of like a 4-point star-ish texture. And then custom would be like your own texture. You have an asset picker here. So if you wanted to, like, let's say that, so that seasonal sample PNG, that's that tile set. But let's go ahead and make that a particle. And now I'm rendering tile sets as a particle. And that's just kind of the way that works. Particles by default billboard towards your camera, so they always face your camera. You can see as I rotate and orbit around the preview viewport here, the particle just always looks like it's facing the same direction, which in general is what you want. But that is something you can disable. Let's see if I go to appearance or maybe shape. Motion forces, collision. Let's see. Is it emission? General. I know the parameter exists, but oh wait, alignment. Let's just make that horizontal. There we go. Um, or let's go with velocity. And now you can see kind of changes alignment based on where you're looking here on velocity. Some of these are still following the camera though, which should not be happening. Let's go with stretched. Okay, stretch is not what I want. I'll put it back to billboard. Billboard is almost always what you're going to want anyways, but I thought I had a mode to disable that, to just have it come out whatever direction it comes out facing. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. There's a lot to think about when you're building one of these things, and there's so many features that have been put in over the last couple of months and then need to be fixed because like these even these graph editors are kind of just something I added in after the fact. So if I go to like rotation, there's rotational controls that just don't even work anymore. Like this min and max rotation have kind of no business being here anymore because it's controlled by this. So if I just turn this on and bring up the angular velocity, now you can see they start rotating. So this min and max rotational controls, like just they don't work at all anymore. So there are still some, like I said, buggy. Some controls just have no use anymore because I changed the way that things were designed. So I'm going to turn the angular velocity down back to 0 now that that's unnecessary. But yeah, so that's kind of the quick overview for particle systems. There's a lot of controls here, a lot of things you can do with it. So like I said, you have your on birth, on death, on collision. On collision only works if collision is enabled, which is right here under the collision tab. And then if you turn collision mode onto none, plane or world, then when they collide with a plane, which these particles might be too big, they might just be phasing right through the plane. Let's see if I bring the... I used to have a way to move the plane, but I might have disabled the control at some point. I'll have to go back in and look. It's been a while since I've made any adjustments to the particle system because it just kind of works now. But yeah, I think these are too big, so they're just phasing right through the plane, which is why you're not seeing any collision happening at the moment. But there's also world collision where it'll collide with like colliders in the world. So that's a more expensive mode, and it doesn't. You can't really preview it in here because you have to have a particle system like existing in the viewport. So I'm gonna just kind of disable that for now. But anyways, on collision, the sub emitters work on birth, on death, and on collision. So if you wanted to have like particles spawn when a particle dies, you would use on death. If you wanted to have particles spawn when it collides with something, you would use on collision. That's about it. Like I said, there's only one node. There's only one right click to add a node here, and you can connect it. So you can have like, let's say your birth emitter, and then you can have your death emitter, and you can have your collision emitter. And now you have a very dynamic particle system that just works. So that's the idea behind it anyways. Now, a lot of these features in this engine that I've showed so far are very, very untested because I don't have like testers or anything. It's literally, oops, just me. So I'm going to close this out. I don't need to save that particle system because I was just demonstrating with it. But yeah, that's kind of the basics for the particle system and how it works. And you can do a lot with it. You can create weather effects. I'm eventually going to have like a dynamic weather system built in here as well. But for now, I don't. But yeah, so that's pretty much how it works. On the next video, I will cover some similar fluid sum stuff, because the fluid sum system is similar to the particle system, but it doesn't use a graph view. It's just a singular fluid sum at the moment. I do eventually want to move it into the same kind of setup as the particle system, but I'll talk about all that in my next video. But for now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for checking out Nova. I don't have a website for this yet, but I will have one sometime soon. And I will post more details about it in a later date. Talk to you guys later.